Hey, Matthew Rizzo here. I'm sorting orders. We got Christmas coming up and it's getting kind of close. People are kind of waiting. That's what they do every year. We have to get these down to the post office today. But in the meantime, I want to tell you a little story that I always think about this time of the year. When I was in the classroom, I've been retired for 8 years now, teaching history in Hudson Falls High School. We would pause every year and we would commemorate or just remember what happened at Pearl Harbor, which obviously is very far away from where we are in upstate New York, but one of the students in our high school back in 1941 was actually killed at Pearl Harbor. His name was Randy Holmes. He was on the USS Oklahoma. He joined the Navy New Year's Day in 1941, left school early, and he was on the Oklahoma when it was struck by the 5 Japanese torpedoes that were dropped that morning. The Okie rolled over. The Arizona nearby obviously blew up, killing over 1,100 men on that ship. But the Oklahoma had 435 guys who were killed, many of them trapped below deck like Randy. So what happened was his body was never recovered. Well, it was recovered 18 months after the attack. The ship was righted. Of course, we were fighting a war. Resources are scarce. They finally got it pulled over with winches on Ford Island. They pumped the ship out. They raised it, pumped the ship out, and they recovered the remains of over 400 sailors and Marines. And unfortunately, after 18 months underwater, what's left? You know, it's not a pretty sight, and they couldn't identify most of these guys. I think they only identified at the time about 35 out of 435 or something like that. So they were buried in a mass grave at the Punch Bowl Cemetery in Hawaii. And it was only recently, in the past few months, that his remains were returned to the family. There was a ceremony in Arlington National Cemetery. I was kind of hoping he would be brought back home to Hudson Falls. There's a stone, memorial stone with his name on it, killed at Pearl Harbor. His parents rest nearby. I know he had a sister. She left the community afterwards. I mean, I tracked this guy down for years trying to find out what happened to him. And we kept running into dead ends. But modern science, about 8 years ago, they were able to identify his remains with DNA testing. I think it was a niece of his that helped to identify him. So he's back at Arlington. He's the subject of my first book, Things Our Fathers Saw, Voices of the Pacific. And one of the things I like to do was go down to the school vault where they store all the old yearbooks. And the class of 1942 dedicated this page to Randy. He would have graduated with them had he stayed in school. And it's just a poignant tribute. A 19-year-old, kid, just like me when I graduated in 1979. My father took a picture of me in the backyard just like this, less than a mile away. So that's the story for December 7th. Today's the 6th. I'll be going into the high school next week, actually, to talk to the students. And hopefully they'll remember. We'll carry on to the tradition of remembering Randy Holmes and what happened on December 7th, 1941. Okay, thanks a lot. We'll talk to you soon.